Is there any other discussion on this? So we're gonna vote on it tonight.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
To amend.
that we decrease that amount by $900, specifically to 900 for line item 01-4521-366 Community Band.
Isn't that more than we did last year, just on, I'll second it, just for discussion.
Yeah, it was cut in half last year.
Yeah, it was cut in half last year, so now we're
750.
even cutting more out of that budget than we did last year.
Well, we didn't cut anything out of the
No,
budget
but
last
we,
year.
when we presented the budget, we cut that line item last year in half.
That was what the selectmen did and we went
Yeah,
along
and
with.
then we supported that cut. So now you're cutting that item even more.
I think the argument here is you're tailoring to one specific stipend, and so that's why that number.
Mhm.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion to amend the first motion, which, yes, Fred?
I was saying, this came up in the subcommittee the other day where I was saying I would be a proponent of cutting that, basically because it's hard to look at people getting laid off and all these other programs getting cut, and then looking at, as much as I like the community band, I'd be a supporter of them, but to have the taxpayers step up and say, yes, this is more important than somebody's job. No, this isn't anybody's job. There's not much at stake other than 8 times a year amusement that may or may not be able to be covered by a different band, or the goodwill of the band director still willing to do that for a year until times get a little bit better. So I don't know how I'd vote on this one, but in terms of it being reasonable, I don't want to be looked at as pariahs for what seems to be a very reasonable cut.
We've already talked about it some, so. All right, are we ready to vote? We'll use the show of hands. So all those supporting the amendment to the original motion, so if you vote yes, that means you recommend making the budget 222,482, which is a minus $900. So all those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 6. So 6. For all those opposed, be 5. Should be 6. That's right. It says the motion loses.
Fails.
This is the 12-member board that doesn't have any tiebreakers. And so we go back to the original motion because a tie is a loss. One of the few Roberts things we follow. So all those in favor of the motion for yes?
We have discussion before we go forward with the next motion.
Sure.
I only bring this point up because I've heard it twice now. I heard Skip mention it tonight, and then in another subcommittee, I heard Fred make a similar comment. This is in regards to merit wages in general, not specifically to this budget, it's just all the budgets across the board. And a similar discussion that I heard was with cutting back a lot of different places, times being tight, is this a year that perhaps we should not be looking at merit wages, period? I'm only throwing this question out on the table for discussion before we vote for this, because if that's an item we wish to consider, no merit wages for any departments, it'd be good to start with tonight with that item.
Yeah, it's across the board discussion. There's no doubt about it. And I guess maybe what we should do is ask Scott and Jeff, what is the lump number for merit raises for non-union personnel?
46.
46.
How much?
46, isn't it?
No, that was the total.
That was
That include union, we were told at a meeting the other day. So maybe we should bring that up at another time. We have quite a group of people here but I agree, it has to be brought up and discussed, because it has been brought up when we should
As I
vote
say,
on
I've
it.
only heard it, I've heard it several times now.
Right.
And it probably is something that's percolating that should be discussed.
And we have to do that. So I'd say we vote for this one, get a number, put that on the agenda here shortly, because we'll have to do it before we finalize our budget.
Okay.
All right, so the motion on the table is $223,382 for Parks and Rec. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, so it's 9-3, passed. Now you have to cover the skating rink.
Yes. So it's on the back side of the page.
Oh, wait a
First
minute.
thing-
Oh, the capital
Question,
reserve.
before we go on, Dick, the cap recreation facility, CRF, is that supposed to be, is that something that we need to talk about as well?
It's on the back.
page 60?
It's on the back.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, essentially that,
Separate item is all.
$30,000, to keep it even from the 2010, to reinstate the 2010 level was reduced to $20,000 by the selectmen. And essentially they're still trying to go ahead with the planned playground, and at the $20,000 level, they'd be able to do that, most likely, but not provide the beach fencing, which is becoming a bit dilapidated, and they'll just have to keep becoming more dilapidated until they can prioritize for that in the fund.
Herb, can you touch on that, what phase 3 is going to entail?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago, when we, with the rec commission and the department, looked at the village field and the facilities that we needed to update, we had some swing structures that had sort of fallen apart, and there was a lack of playground structures over there. We initially came up with a plan to put money aside and then do a project all at once, and after further discussion, wanted to get some stuff in there right away, so we came up with a 3-phase project. Phase 1 was to put in the new swing structures, which we did in 2009, sorry. In 2010, we were able to put in a small play structure, which is the way play structures are rated. There's a younger age rating from ages 2 to 5, and then an older child rating from 5 to 12. We're able to put in a smaller structure for the younger age children. So basically the 3rd phase was to finish it, to put in a structure for the older children over there. Yep.
Is this something that could wait another year?
I
Without
mean-
too much stress or strain?
Certainly, it's not like there's something falling apart there. You know, we have had the interest. I know we get a lot of compliments from parents that bring their young children over there and utilize the younger play structure, but they're looking for something older. You know, is it going to break our backs and not get it in this year? Certainly not, but it is something, you know, we have put on hold 1 year already. So, I mean, it's certainly something. I will say, as a capital item, it is something that would go to the voters to make the decision whether or not they felt it was worth it, as opposed to being included in the operating budget as, you know, one figure hidden in there.
Okay.
The telephone, is that a landline or is that a cell phone?
Are we going?
Oh, we're not,
back?
we're only talking to capital reserve right now.
I'm sorry.
I guess my feeling is, if we're going to be doing this stuff, you know, thinking about the budgeting process, if you can keep a budget level or down and fund some of these kind of capital reserves you know are gonna be needed. You hate to go down more this year and then come up next year in an unknown event, and then you're gonna overrun the budget. You're gonna have a 3% increase in your budget next year, and you're gonna all be gone berserk. So from many years of budgeting, I think there's a lesson in that.
Is it possible to do phase 3 this year and the fencing another year? I mean, can it be split?
That's what we were talking about with the cuts in there, from the proposed 30 down to the 20, then yeah, the fencing would be put on the back burner for now.
So phase 3 would cost 20,000.
It would actually cost more than the 20,000, but there is a balance that's in that capital reserve right now.
And how
By
much-
getting the additional 20, it would bring us up to the amount that we would need.
What's in the fund now, the reserve?
Do you know exactly what's in there, Dick?
Yeah. It's in one of those packets I handed out a couple weeks ago. Thought I gave away all my copies. Capital reserves. There is, as of the end of 2010, there was 27,678 in there.
And we did spend some money out of that this year for the, some of the repairs that were done down at the ice rink building as well. I believe it's down to about, you said that was 27? I think it's down 22 and change, give or take,
Curb bounce 22.
roughly. That's, and I believe, looking at, again, it's something that would be, you know, bid out, or asked for, RFP for, but, to do the phase 3, you're looking at roughly probably between 30, 35,000. And the plan was to also keep a balance in there for unexpected repairs to facilities that may go wrong periodically. In the past, we have had to expend money out of there when we've had unanticipated structural failures at, you know, dugouts, things like that, that need to be addressed right away.
Kevin?
Just backing up a little bit,
Yeah.
to get it straight to my head here. So if we go with the 20,000 that the selectmen recommend,
Yeah,
that'll cover phase
phase
3,
3
but
and
not
playground,
fencing?
probably not the fencing, yeah. Oh yeah, the other thing is, thank you, Scott, years ago, my first year, you know, the tennis courts were due for resurfacing, and at that time, it was brought to my attention, these are things that should be planned for, not asked for all at once. So that was part of the whole reasoning for establishing the rec facilities fund at that time. They're probably not due to be resurfaced next year, but my assumption is that they will need to be redone in 2013. So that's, we want to make sure that there's some money left in there in the event that, you know, things don't get better, no extra money's put in the capital reserve future years, that we do have the funding in there to address that project as well.
The tennis courts are also used by the school. Does the school participate in the costs on the maintenance of those courts or not?
They have not.
I
That
realize
certainly,
it's
it,
whatever
I guess it
pocket
comes
you
out
take
of the
out.
same pool
Eventually.
when you think of taxpayers, but no, we have incurred the maintenance costs through
Okay.
our department.
So phase 3 is gonna cost between 30 and 35,000. You're gonna use the 20, plus another 10 plus of this 22,000 that's left in the fund.
Right, and have
Yes.
some left for some other things.
So phase 3 is really, it's a $30,000 to $35,000 project.
Yeah, that's a good rough estimate.
And do you see, other than the tennis courts, obviously an item coming up, when do you see an ETA for basically being done? Because I remember when we first started this fund, the idea was to replace what we had at some point. Are we finished? Or
Well,
is this constant?
I would say the one other area that the rec commission is looking at is to address the play structures down at the beach. Whether that's done right away, say after this phase, or if there's a break. My feeling initially wasn't necessarily to be done with this. I don't know if you recall, Skip, initially we had proposed 2 separate funds, one for a playground fund, which was supposed to be done, and one for the rec facilities maintenance fund. At the time, wanting to limit the warrant articles in the capital reserves fund, the selectmen recommended putting those two together. So as far as looking for huge expenses every year, I don't anticipate that going on forever, if that's what you're asking. Now, the one other area where the commission has looked at is addressing the play structures down at the beach after this. Aside from that, it would be as issues come up with current facilities for maintaining. We're not looking at putting in, necessarily new play structures at every other park, at Lincoln Park, at Stonewall Park. That's not in the plans at this time.
Yeah, and that's the main reason why I asked the question, because, we were talking about two different things. To be able to rehab basically the equipment we had, then that was supposed to be it. And, it's not necessarily clear just from reading the budget. That is something that's being kept in, and that's why I asked the question.
Okay. Any other questions? We have to cover this. Do we want to vote on it tonight? If so, we need a motion. If not, we'll move on to the next item.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of funding the capital reserve for Parks and Rec for $20,000, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. 12-0. Skating rink.
All right, that's the next tab. Overall, it's down 2.2%. Most of the stuff in here is flat from last year. There's that new telephone line item. Dave, did you want to ask a question?
Well, just, is it land or sell?
Say landline.
Okay. Is this a place where sell may be more beneficial? I'm just asking a question.
I don't think it would make a difference one way or the other, to be honest. The benefit of having a landline is, and there is we do have, an automated messaging system so that people can call in, find out hours when, there's issues. The maintenance right down there can, change the message to say, due to the recent current conditions, the rink's posted closed, that type of thing. I suppose that's something, if we wanted to go towards a cell phone, we could look at getting maybe an automated message number through the voicemail, but then we'd have to give them access to that type of stuff too. So it's something else to think about, but
It's just a question.
yeah.
Can you have some sort of a messaging system on this phone with measured service instead of a higher charge per month? With measured service, you can have any number of incoming phone calls, limited number of outgoing phone calls. But if people are calling in.
I mean,
to
I
find-
do believe there's a long distance block on that phone. Basically, the phone's there for our maintenance and supervisory personnel if they have issues to call me, or, off after hours emergency services, that type of thing. So I'm not sure how that would work with the town's phone system. I'm not sure if that's something Jeff or Scott could answer.
So this would be part of the town phone system then?
Yes.
$21 a month.
Okay.
Okay, any more discussion on the skating rink? Through the years, we've had it all.
Is there a
Kevin.
fee associated, like birthday parties or special events?
We do offer after-hour rentals, yes, which does go back into the general fund.
And what do you off? Just a ballpark. I mean, what?
I believe the rental fee is $40 an hour.
No, but I mean on an annual
Oh.
basis, average.
It really varies. A couple of years ago, I think we only had 1 or 2 rentals. Last year, we were up, I want to say we had maybe 12 or 13. Part of it depends on, occasionally we'll have, last year, for example, we had a group that rented it regularly once every week. Also, it varies depending on the quality of the ice. When we have good ice years, people are more apt to want to get out there and take advantage.
So we're talking $400 or $500.
Yeah, it's not a significant revenue stream.
Just curious here about the heating fuels, what is heated over there, the pump house?
It's basically the pump room. It's where we store our pump when it's not being used to prevent it from freezing up, as well as the, fire hose and the nozzles and everything.
Okay.
And it is, it's maintained at the minimum thermostat, basically just keep the stuff from freezing.
Could we, is it, and I don't know what your pump looks like or anything, but is it feasible to transport that back and forth to a heated storage space, maybe in public works?
I would say probably not. It's a large electrical pump that's wired in. It's also hard bolted down to a cart to be able to be rolled in and out.
All right.
Not something that would be easily transported.
If we had to use this truck, we'd probably break the truck.
It's a 450.
The other,
It is a 450, right?
the other item is, our maintenance or seasonal personnel that do most of the maintenance work after hours, so gaining access to other town facilities is something we'd have to think about as well. But
I've seen that truck, I think I get it all out the other day.
I will move the $8,666 for the maintenance of the skating rink, which, by the way, I did look at the other day, and it really does look in good shape, and I commend him because we are using it in the off-season they used it for archery classes, and they do have the curling classes there when the ice is good, and so it is seeing use other than just for ice skating, so.
The Canadian women going to come down?
Sure. Against-
Curling really a sport?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it's an Olympic sport.
Exciting sport.
Second.
So,
Exciting?
thank you. Yes, it is
There's
an
4 or
exciting.
5 people do it anyway.
Lots of people do it.
Second.
Second, okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor of 8666 for the skating rink, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay,
Thanks, Herb.
thank you.
thank you very much.
All you, Fred.
The last. The library. Who is the subcommittee?
Myself and
Fred
Dave.
and I.
Dave, you want to take it? You want me? I'm on a roll here.
You're doing good, you're doing good.
I got it. So we have the library, was myself and Dave and Catherine Dormady, who I believe Dale knows,
Yeah, right.
as well as the
Somewhat.
Thank you, Fred, for that clarification.
just in case. As well as the trustees we see before us tonight. The selectmen, they recommended a budget of $449,816. It's a 3.8% increase. There was a $9,000 increase in building maintenance, and some of that was items that were transitioned from DPW's budget. And also, now the geothermal system is going to have to be maintained on a more regular basis as well, and more thoroughly. And you see in italics there, just a note that won't really make the budget, but it's potentially noteworthy is right now on the state level, they want to, it's been proposed to do away with the intercity loan funds that, Catherine can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's a federal grant part?
No, it's from
No,
the,
nothing to do with
it's
it.
from the
Strictly
IMLS,
IMLS.
which was the
Major League Soccer.
Museum and Library Science portion of the
Mrs.
federal budget.
Normandy, I apologize for interrupting, but in order to save you being yelled at by a certain technician.
Oh, okay.
Not that you would ever hear him raise his voice to you, but
Just about to say that.
I was praising you.
He knows where his meal comes from.
It's a proposed proposal to bring down the amount of vans that run throughout the state from 4 to 1, which would effectively eliminate interlibrary loan. So there is a move on the state level for that. And as of now, we process about 1,700 interlibrary loans going out, and a little bit less coming in.
So there's nothing in the budget about that, but it's, it could
Could be a
affect it.
future impact.
Yeah.
So in terms of the wages and benefits, it's a 1.2% increase. And it took me a while, but I figured out what's going on there. The merit wages budget to increase by 1.1%. And last year was about 1.8%. And the library, again, according to Ms. Gormley, was it's middle of the road in terms of surrounding towns, in terms of salaries and benefits that are offered. And there's actually been a couple positions that have, a couple people that have left to go specifically to Meredith, I believe it was, who has a notably higher rate. So in terms of supply and demand, it seems like that's right about where it should be.
A question, this is a general question on pay scales. Some years back, I think we talked about once a person reaches, there was a period when a person reached the top of their pay scale, they would still get a pay raise. And then I thought that stopped. Is that still the case? A pay scale may go up, and therefore they can go up with it. But once they reach the top...
For someone who has maxed out within their grade, if they are eligible for merit, that would come in the form of a lump sum payment as opposed to a wage rate increase.
So they can still get a raise even at the top of their...
It's not a raise, it's a lump sum.
Yeah, but effectively, okay.
Merit recognition.
Yeah, but that's not added to the next
Not
year's.
added to the, correct.
Yeah.
Overtime, everything would be based on that, right?
Because that is different than a lot of industry. Okay, most of the time, you reach the top, so lump sums only come if you did heroic stuff. And if that's the kind of rules, that would be fine, because there could be some supreme. But, generally the thought is a job is capable of certain, it's just pay raise. You reach the top of that, you change jobs. Okay. Sorry, Fred, go back.
No problem. That's about all the highlights on that page. On the next page, 64. Operating expenses, this went up 13.7%, and mainly due to the new maintenance costs. Postage, in that's it's more of almost a requirement in terms of delinquent certified letters that have to get sent out to get people to pay up.
Yeah, right.
Wasn't me, man, I swear. And programs, they showed us a sample list of programs. There's dozens of programs out there, and we saw just in August alone, it's typically a busy month, but there's a lot going on. So it's hard to get a specific sort of cost benefit analysis with so many different programs, and they are all free to the attendees. Yes, no, thank you. Yeah, they're all free. The summer reading program, the Friends of the Library sponsors, and that's a huge program. Kids are out of school, and
Sure. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a Honda Pilot out there, has its lights on. I don't know if that's anyone in here.
Hopefully it had a gray battery.
Okay.
So I'll keep going. meetings and dues, you look at the is it American Library Association. What are you talking about?
Public libraries.
Public, the PLA, not the ALA. They receive a book list, and there's free workshops throughout that through NHLA. They get to go to those, and there's plenty of networking and just cost-saving ideas there in general. She gave us a couple examples, but you didn't write them down. Continuing education, this goes back to the children's librarian is currently in that program. And you know, if the funds weren't all used this year, her husband was deployed, so she's hoping to kick back with that program next year when her husband's back. I'm going to keep going line by line. Does anybody want to just read through it?
Pretty flat.
Seems like you avoided some stuff here, Fred.
I don't want to.
You didn't bring your book report.
I'll be happy to.
Oh, okay.
I got a question for Gus. Just trying to figure out what the selectmen were, what their thoughts were. When I look at things such as the continuing ed, budgeted $1,000, but you know, last year it was way down. But also looking at the meals and travel, last 3 years, it's been well below what the budgeted amount is. But you've kept the budget pretty much the same at $850. Did you guys talk about, well, let's look at the actuals and cut the budgeted amount at all?
We did look, you know, when we go through it, not necessarily, I can't say that this specific line where you mentioned meal travels and expenses. We do look at that, we look at the actuals. Again, we felt where this was level funded. Catherine and her team have been very faithful at not using everything that was in there. You know, obviously, as you can see with the actual amounts, you know, we felt that it was.
Skip, if I may, when Fred and I met with this group, there were 7 items on page 64 that we noted were tracking low. And Catherine provided updates for us. Most of them are coming up closer.
Croc TV.